Alright, welcome to another segment I like to call What Would They Listen To? Where I talk about characters and what kind of music they would listen to. More or less, me talking about, talking about two favorite things, music and comics. And today I'm going to be talking about the famous Marvel family, the Fantastic Four. Starting off with the leader, of course, Mr. Fantastic. Now, what would Reed Richards listen to in his lab? Now, Reed Richards is a very formal man. I could see him listening to some classical music, maybe even... I would even say, maybe he would be listening to the Beatles. Reed strikes me as a Beatles fan. I could see him listening to Yellow Submarine as he's conducting, splitting atoms apart or something. There's something, and also I could see him maybe the Doors. Possibly the Doors, and... maybe a little bit of not Rolling Stones, but Beatles on there. The Who, actually, yeah, The Who and the Beatles would be on Reed's playlist. I can definitely see those two bands, especially, on his list. Some classical music as well, possibly even... trying to think here. Eric Clapton. For some reason, Reed strikes me as an Eric Clapton fan. Definitely, when he was part of Cream, when Clapton was part of Cream as well, I could definitely see him rocking out to some Cream. Maybe even Bob Dylan. Actually, no, I take that back. Reed doesn't look like a Bob Dylan fan to me. So let's talk about Johnny. What would Johnny listen to? Foo Fighters, Sex Pistols, maybe some Rolling Stones as well. I could see him also listening to some, classic rap like Snoop Dogg, Public Enemy, maybe, and some Anthrax. He looks like Johnny is definitely a mixed bag kind of person. He definitely has probably a mixed band of music. Like I said, Foo Fighters, some Public Enemy, some Ice Cube, and maybe some Lil Wayne. I could see Johnny listening to some Lil Wayne, or, actually no, Eminem. More so, maybe some Lil Wayne, but definitely more along the lines of Eminem and some Tupac. Yeah, there'd be some Tupac in there. I could even see, some Anthrax, some Metallica, and let's see, what else would probably be in Johnny's What else would be in Johnny's playlist? Some Hendrix. I could buy Johnny listening to some Jimi Hendrix. Absolutely, he'd be a Jimi Hendrix fan. And let's talk about Sue. Now, Sue would be a little more interesting. Sue would probably be listening to the likes of Donna Summer. I could see her listening to some Janis Joplin. I could see her also listening to, again, some Beatles, some Who, just like her husband. I could see, those kind of bands on her iPod or, in her CD collection. And, For some reason, and this may be weird, maybe I'm thinking a little too far, I could see some Garth Brooks on Sue's playlist. For some reason, she strikes me as a Garth Brooks fan. There is a possibility of her listening to some Garth Brooks and maybe some George Strait. I could see some country in her playlist. I could probably see some country in her playlist. So who's next? Ben. Now, Ben Grimm. What would Ben Grimm listen to? Ben strikes me as, again, another Hendrix fan. I could see him listening to Johnny Cash, some Doors, some Sex Pistols like Johnny, and maybe even, actually not so much rock, maybe more like classic rock, and some country. He strikes me as, again, Johnny Cash fan, but I could see some rock, like some Rolling Stones in there. I could see some... For some reason, he strikes me as he'd be... Actually, probably more Sue, but I could see Ben listening to some as well. Genesis. I could see... Well, yeah. I could see Ben listening to some Genesis and Sue listening to more Phil Collins, if that makes any sense. She'd be listening to just Phil Collins doing music, but I think Ben would probably be listening to more Genesis. I don't know. You'd think I would make more hard rock jokes because, well, he's a fucking rock monster, but if that makes any sense, I'd see Ben listening to more Genesis and Sue listening to more just Phil Collins. Take that as you will. And what else would be in Ben's playlist? What else would be in good old Ben's playlist? What else? Trying to think here. .38 Special. Now that I think of it, yeah, .38 Special. I could see Ben listening to some .38 Special. Oh yeah, he's. Now that I think about it more, yeah, definitely some .38 Special in his playlist, and maybe some Stevie. Oh yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Ben Grimm strikes me as a Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. Abso-freaking-lutely. So that goes for the immediate group. What would, the children, some of the other supporting characters listen to in, the Fantastic Four immediate family? So let's talk about Franklin. Franklin strikes me as, because I think, here's the thing, I think Sue would monitor what her children listen to. So, yeah, he probably wouldn't be listening to anything Johnny has, but maybe some, strikes me very much as, I can imagine, Franklin in his younger years listening to some Skrillex, maybe some, tech. He strikes me as younger Franklin strikes me, not future Franklin, but Franklin now in the present, strikes me as a bit of a techno fan. And maybe some rock his father listened to. So again, another Beatles fan in the works. Valerie strikes me more as pop, and more I wouldn't say pop in general, but maybe now that I think about it, since her father and who her godfather is, Dr. Doom, she would be more listening to classical music. In fact, we've seen some comics where she has Mozart playing in the background while she's working. So there's a terrifying thought. So more classical music, maybe some pop thrown in there. I can't really give an exact idea as to what kind of pop she would listen to, but maybe something along those lines. As to Alicia strikes me as she would probably listen to some pop as well. Not like current pop, 80s pop, maybe Flock of Seagulls and shit like that. And, Bill, and Sue would probably have this too. Both Sue and Alicia would be listening to Billy Idol. I could see them both listening to some Billy Idol. And Johnny would be listening to some Billy Idol too. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe Sting would probably be on, Sting and the Police would probably be on Alicia and Sue's playlist as well. I'm just saying. And, who else? Who else can I, take a look at? I don't want to say She-Hulk or anything, but I want to save them for when I do when I do more of the list of the Avengers, actually. So, I think, in terms of immediate group, that would probably be it. So, yeah. You guys tell me, what do you guys think the Fantastic Four would listen to? Do you guys think they would be listening to the stuff I said, or, other stuff? Anyway,